Welcome to Same Spit, Different Face TV. Well, my opinions is facts, and if you don't like my opinions, you can start your own podcast. And it's free, so don't forget to spit on the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell. Check out No Time to Play Fair official movie and the end screen. If your favorite Chicago rapper album or mixtape was turned into a movie, it'd be No Time to Play Fair.
I've been incarcerated for almost half the year over a gun that the DAs lied and said I shot. In 2021, they demanded I take a DNA test. I took that test with no pushback, delay, or question.
Now, Spit Squad, Tory Lanez is basically saying that his DNA report was manipulated. Now, you may say, how was it manipulated? Well, when you look at a DNA test, what it does is it runs, but it has a full process that it has to run. Now, if it runs 100% of that process, it'll say for sure whether your DNA is there or not. So let's just use the example of having a gun. If you run that DNA test all the way through and you didn't touch that gun, it will say 100% your DNA is not on that gun. Now, let's just say if you run that DNA test and only run it 50% or 80%, like stop it in the middle of the process, well, it will show up inconclusive for your DNA. So basically, that's what Tory Lanez is alleging. That's what he's trying to say. He's claiming that, hey, my DNA was not on the gun. I took the test right away because I knew my DNA was on the gun, and they know my DNA wasn't on the gun. But because they knew they weren't going to get a prosecution without my DNA being on the gun, instead of just letting it run it through and saying it wasn't 100%, they stopped this process. Now, how will Tory Lanez prove this? So with that manipulation, it basically said that it was inconclusive, which basically the prosecutor was saying, well, we can 100% say that Tory Lanez's DNA isn't on the gun, but we also can't 100% say that it is on the gun. So inconclusive is kind of just like when you in a jury, hey, if I can paint a story of this person to make it look like they have probable cause to shoot her, which would be the argument where he have a complex and she said that he was short, and then Megan Thee Stallion would insult his music, and by Tory Lanez being so angry, and guess what? We have a history of him being angry. Look at all these fights and these situations he's been in. Now they can paint a full picture for the jury, where the jury may say, well, you know what? Inconclusive don't mean he didn't have the gun, or it don't mean he did. But with all this other evidence that the prosecutor is telling us, in with the tape that we heard from Kelsey, and also with the testimony we heard from Megan Thee Stallion, we can just assume that his DNA would have been on the gun if it would have been able to be inclusive. Now, one thing I continue to tell y'all while this trial was going on, I was giving y'all hella updates, right? And I literally said that I remember one of the DNA people saying, if Tory Lanez would have shot that gun 4 to 5 times or 6 times like they said, it would be no way that his DNA would not be on the gun. His DNA would 100% be on the gun. But the real problem to the issue is one of these reporters, she white, and her name Megan something. That was the reporter that everybody was going to get their news, right? She was only reporting the things that would make Tory look guilty and make Megan Thee Stallion look good. Now, I believe that she's biased, right? And you understand that we in a woke, believe all women, Me Too era, but also we in an era now where, you know, it's like either you on the side of a black person or you not. You can't be in between, and that happens a lot with white women, right? So for the white woman, she doesn't want to seem like she's against the black woman who's the victim and the black woman who's the big star and the person who can help propel her career. So it doesn't benefit her to tell the story in a fair way, especially if she have a woke agenda. So, I mean, this is huge in Tory's case. And I think this is why every time Tory was going to court, they kept pushing it back, because Tory's new lawyer, Baez, he was waiting to get these results. So now, let's look at this. When you look at the results now finally saying, which I told y'all at first because I remember what the other DNA expert said, with them saying that his DNA is 100% not on the gun. Then when you go to the process of where Kelsey basically changed her story when she got on the stand and said Tory didn't shoot Megan Thee Stallion. Then you got the guy EJ who said that Megan Thee Stallion usually packs and keeps a gun inside of her suitcase. Now it's painting a fair story. I think the biggest thing you need to learn from this, right? And Tory Lanez is learning this the hard way. When you going through some of these situations and things like this happen, you just got to get the best type of representation you can get the first time, because I think Tory had pretty good representation the first time, but I don't think his representation had the connections to get the things done that he wanted to get done. And when you going up against a full state, the prosecutor, when you're going up against the state prosecutor, that means you going up against everybody that they know, everybody who beneficial. Then you got to think about it. You got Roc Nation. They have mutual benefit from Megan Thee Stallion finding Tory Lanez guilty, because if he get found not guilty, well, that mean that Megan Thee Stallion just lied on a black man for no reason, and we always talking about Black Lives Matter, and we talking about the cops. So what that ends up doing is that puts Megan Thee Stallion in a bad light. But I'm gonna tell y'all one of the other ways that I know when Tory Lanez got found guilty, I can tell y'all why I know that the industry know he didn't shoot her, because nobody came out on the internet and was like, congratulations, Megan Thee Stallion. We so happy you got justice. You deserve better. Why? Because everybody know what happened inside the industry. Everybody know what type of person she is when she get drunk, allegedly. But when, like I say, you got to think about it. Roc Nation controls all of the big artists. So if an artist speak out against that, they won't get no features. Roc Nation has also got close ties to Live Nation. That do a majority of the concerts. They own a majority of these big venues. So if you make them upset and then Roc Nation get that call and say, hey, we don't want them in our venue, well, guess what? That cuts your money out. So I think Tory Lanez found out a valuable lesson. Now, it's a lot more to happen on this situation, and Tory Lanez gonna have to go through a lot to figure it out. But me personally, I 100% think that Tory Lanez will get his appeal, and I think this case will be night and day when it come back. Now, I'm gonna tell you the only benefit that the other side have. The other side will have the benefit of knowing which way Tory Lanez is going. So like the reason, another important thing, Tory Lanez had a gag order while Megan Thee Stallion was allowed to speak, right? So what that does is that allows Megan Thee Stallion to control a narrative without having Tory Lanez to speak. So just imagine a situation where, let's just say you in the house, right? And somebody got food inside the refrigerator, and then somebody go in there and steal the food. Now when the person come out and say, hey, who stole my food? Now let's just say if you're not in the house, that person may say, yo, John stole my food out the refrigerator. You not there to defend yourself, so everybody is gonna believe that John stole the food out the refrigerator. And that's how it was going for Tory Lanez. Because he couldn't speak out on his own behalf, and because he couldn't say it didn't happen like that, he couldn't say I didn't shoot that girl, he couldn't go sit down and do an interview with Gillian Wallow or the Breakfast Club and talk about the situation. Well, what that ended up doing was that made him look guilty, because he wasn't able to combat the things she was saying. He wasn't able to say, nah, that girl said she wasn't drunk. She was drunk. He wasn't able to say, no, I never shot that gun. Such and such shot that gun. So I think this is a huge case. I think he actually gonna get that appeal, but I think this is a valuable lesson, like I said, and Tory gotta learn from this. He gotta move forward. And I think one of the other lessons is, to pick better examples of people to be around. Now, this is alleged. It's the rumor that go around the industry with everything you read, everything you hear somebody talk about that's anonymous. They say that Megan Thee Stallion has a drinking problem, and when she gets drunk, not only do she start acting super horny, but if she gets upset or you offend her, she start acting super aggressive. Well, Tory Lanez could have avoided this situation by understanding that, one, she's already drunk. I can just wait until she leave this party and tell her to come to me. Two, You already knew that you was messing with her and Kelsey. You should have knew that that was going to be a messy situation because Megan Thee Stallion is messy and Kelsey is messy. So then you add liquor into that when everybody already say that she act a fool and get aggressive when she drunk. You should have known not to put yourself in that situation. And sometimes you gotta just say no. It don't matter how you feel about him. It don't matter how good you think she look. It don't matter how lit it's gonna be. It don't matter if it's gonna make you look like the man. Sometimes you gotta just step back and be like, you know what she is offering is not worth the trouble that I'm gonna go through. And that's what this really boils down to. Tory Lanez took a high risk with low reward, and I could be sure that, you know, he probably looking at it like, yo, this Megan Thee Stallion, she one of the littest artists out now. I'm not on a major label anymore. She getting pushed by Roc Nation. Maybe I can get close to her. We can do a feature together. I can blow up off of her, and I could be right back mainstream like I was before I left this record label. So he just should have handled that situation better. But it's a life lesson he got to learn because he made his own life hard through this situation. But in closing, I definitely think that he's going to get a new trial, and I think he's going to be found not guilty. And if he don't get a new trial, because you got to understand the prosecutors know everybody in LA, which means they know the judges and they know the other people who work there. If he don't get a new trial, he's going to file his appeal with the Supreme Court. And with all the new information they got, I'm 1,000% sure he'll get a new trial.